Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the public consultation webinar regarding the proposed homes for North Dorchester. Just wait a couple of more minutes for some more people to arrive, and then we'll get started. Thank you very much. So good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. So this is the second of two stages of consultation regarding the proposals for the North Dorchester Garden Community. We held two consultation events and a webinar last summer, and we held two in-person public consultation events earlier this week, and then a webinar this evening. So thank you very much for joining us. My name is Steve Jolly, and I'll be chairing this evening's session. I'm joined by a number of members of the project team, all who will introduce themselves throughout the evening and here to present information and answer any questions you have. They'll introduce themselves as we go through the evening. And just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about this evening. So we're going to talk about the consultation so far, introduce the latest plans and master plan, show how those plans could translate into 3D, into the real world, and how you might experience those new surroundings, explain the approach to flood protection specifically, and then answer any questions you've got, hopefully for around 30 minutes or so. So we're going to do a presentation for around 30 minutes, and then hopefully answer questions that you have for those 30 minutes after that. Just a bit of really brief housekeeping, some technical bits and bobs. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's a questions tab. Just click on that, and please do answer any questions you have at any point in the evening. So if you've got questions that are coming to mind now, type those in straight away. And then once we get to the question and answer session at the end of the presentation, at that point, we'll go through those questions and we'll kind of do them in themes so that we can kind of talk to each consultant who can cover the area that they're an expert in. If you've got any technical issues, please also use that tab. So if you can't hear me or if you can't see any of the presentation properly, do let us know as soon as you can in that questions tab. And if you think of any questions after the webinar, then please do email us at info@northdorchester.org.uk or give us a call on 0800 689 5209 and speak to a member of the project team. A recording of this webinar is going to be uploaded to our website, northdorchester.org.uk, where you can also watch the previous webinar from last year, from September 2025. So, going to introduce the two members of the North Dorchester Consortium this evening. So firstly, Mo from Granger. You're on mute, Mo, so if you could just unmute yourself. While Mo's unmuting himself, Tim, why don't you introduce yourself? Tim's from Wyatt Homes.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Hoskinson, Planning Director at Wyatt Homes. For those who don't know Wyatt Homes, we're a Dorset-based SME house builder working across Dorset, Hampshire, Wiltshire and Somerset. Business has been going 35 years and has grown a lot over that time, and we're proud of delivering architecturally distinctive developments with placemaking at the heart of them.
And fantastic. Mo, are you able to unmute yourself? How's it going? Okay, I think we're going to come back to you, Mo. we'll be back to you in just a second. So firstly, a bit about where the site is. Now, I think most people who are attending this webinar are probably aware of the site for North Dorchester. So the site is between Charminster to the west and Stinsford to the east, and it's to the north of the town of Dorchester. So it's quite simple, not going to dwell on this slide. We held a consultation back in the summer and autumn of last year in August, September, where 1,100 people attended our consultation events, whether in person or online, and gave us an enormous amount of feedback. And it covered a huge range of topics, but broadly it was amongst these topics here. So around congestion and cars on the road, impact on already health services and schools, sewage treatments not being able to cope with the capacity, increased capacity, affordable homes not really being affordable, concerns around climate change and the impact of the homes on climate change, concern around flooding risk, pollution of the water supply and boreholes, a lack of jobs for the people who are coming to live in the homes, and a concern around the overdevelopment of Dorchester itself. Mo, I can see you've managed to unmute. Do you want to just briefly introduce yourself and Granger?
Yeah, apologies everyone, and thank you, Steve, and thank you everyone else for joining this evening. As Steve said, I'm leading the project from Granger. We're the UK's largest listed landlord. We've got over 11,000 operational homes across the UK, of which we do a mix of product from private homes to rented product. And we also have a registered provider arm called Granger Trust, where we deliver our own affordable homes as well as the private homes. I've been on the project for over 6 years and look forward to any questions at the end of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mo. So handing over to Valentina. Valentina, over to you.
Hello everyone, I'm Valentina Nullo. This is Cosmo Murray, Brooks Murray architect and master planning for the project. What is on the screen at the moment is the target and strategic matrix that we're planning to deliver in North Dorchester, with the 3 new villages immersed into the landscape, 3 new schools, 2 primary, 1 secondary, all accessible by active travel routes, 6 hectares of employment across the local centre and designated area, a new healthcare hub, 135 hectares of new public open space, including allotments and community orchard, 96 hectare water meadow actually improved and announced, 1,260 affordable home around on the 3,600 total new homes. It's going to be a 15 minutes neighborhood where day-to-day needs are accessible, aiming for a 50% of green infrastructure with a high energy efficient building, zero carbon ready. Move along. This is the master plan we consulted in August of 2025. For probably some of you already know. Since then, you can see on the screen 7 major difference into the changes. The changes that you got is a reduction of developed area resulting in a reduction of houses, a repositioning of the school, a viability for woodlands burial, and household recycling centre started to be considered. The South Central neighbourhood redesign completely in 1 quadrant of the primary interconnection of the roads. And the most important is the new pedestrian and cycle connection through the water meadow, connecting North Dorchester through Dorchester. This is the current master plan as it stands. We're still developing the master plan and it's still a work in progress, what we going to submit in future. As you can see, you got an interconnection of network of active travel, the 3 villages and the school. If we're going down to scale, we're starting to understand how this master plan is actually going to look like, and a possible illustration is what is on the screen regarding the school. You can see the pink in the secondary and primary school in the education campus with the link road on the northern side here, and the active travel route that actually take you to the school. You can see the parkland, a recreation park for gathering and social interaction. You can see the block they're going to have be permeable. You can see the mixed use and the green village green. Another element that you can see is the new primary active travel route through the meadow, as I said, which is the major difference between the 2025 master plan presented in August and the current one, the redevelopment of Cockspur Farm into the part of the master plan. And all of the meadow will be unlockable in a way that can be enhanced and enjoyable for the people. Then we're going for the most likely the first phase of the development to enable to deliver 500 homes. Could be we think that we can start between Slice Lane and Cockspur Lane, where you got current accessible area by providing again 500 houses with open space and a mixed use a local centre, which down in scale can look like this. This is a view from above the Thorn, looking east, is actually showing how the development can look like with the interconnection of the path, the active travel route, which is a bicycle and a pedestrian route together, the sports pitches, and potential for a village green. After that, I leave it to my kiddies.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name's Josie. I work for Markides Associates. We're the transport consultant assisting with the new community. As you will know, the new community is planned is a mixed-use community with schools, local centres and facilities, as well as employment areas, all within easy walking and cycling distance of the new homes, meaning that day-to-day needs will be met locally, which will help reduce traffic. It's important to say that all existing footways, bridleways, and other public rights of way will remain open. We're not looking to remove any of those existing public rights of way, and you can see the existing public right of way network in brown, the footpaths, the yellow, which is the bridleways, and the national cycle network in blue. We are proposing to complement this with the proposed active travel route shown in dashed pink. As Valentina has already mentioned, one of the key elements is a route across the water meadows, linking Dorchester with the new community. We have a core network running east-west and north-south, connecting the communities within the development as well as Dorchester itself. Dorchester Town Centre will be about a 20 to 30-minute walk or a 10 to 15-minute cycle way. The route across the water meadows that I mentioned earlier will be raised, and so not to impact the water flowing underneath. We'll have some low-level lighting, possibly some places to stop and enjoy the views, but we'll provide a route accessible all year round. Part of the core network also provides an active travel route along the length of the link road with appropriate crossing points to enable people to cross the road at junctions and other desire lines. These connect into the north-south routes, linking the development together. A new section along Sliers Lane is also provided, with also a new realigned section to the south, connecting into London Road as part of a signalised junction, with a new shared cycleway footway along London Road, complemented by street lighting and a new 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. You will also see on the master plan other routes in green. These are more leisure routes for people to enjoy, go for a run, family stroll, access some of the local parklands and other green spaces, but they also provide connections between the communities within the development. With the right connections, we believe there's a lot of potential for people to use these modes travelling to and from Dorchester and within the development. It's also worth noting that development will be supported by a bus route running approximately every 30 minutes during the week, which will serve the site and link the site with Dorchester Town Centre, including railway stations as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. My name's Robin Friesner. I'm one of the landscape architects working on the scheme. As you'll see in front of you, we've developed a landscape master plan, which takes on board many of the site opportunities and constraints, be it the public rights of way, the topography, and many assets such as the links to Dorchester, the Thomas Hardy elements within the scheme and the surrounding context, as well as key views. What we have developed is a landscape master plan that builds and integrates in many areas of public open space for the new community. These comprise recreational spaces, productive landscapes such as community orchards, allotments with different elements. These can be informal or formal provisions spread across the scheme so that they're accessible to the different neighbourhoods. There is also the creation of key parklands, which are co-located with the different neighbourhoods, which we'll go into detail shortly. Richard, would you like to touch upon the biodiversity?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Chilcott, and I work for a company called COSA. We're the ecologists advising on the biodiversity and protected species matters on this project. So the key strategy from an ecology perspective has always been quite clear. It's about retaining and enhancing hedgerows, the valuable features in the sites, such as mature trees, areas of parkland, existing woodland, and of course the river Froome and the water meadows. And then bringing directing development to areas of lower quality habitats, such as the cropland and existing agricultural grasslands. So that gives us a really strong opportunity to deliver meaningful enhancements of biodiversity. We're looking at the creation of new habitats, such as wildflower meadows, scrub, woodland, and importantly, securing the long-term management of the water meadows. We've also been working hard to maximise biodiversity net gain. The scheme will deliver at least the mandatory 10% net gain on site, and we're actually looking for opportunities to exceed that wherever possible. In doing so, we've also taken into account the priorities set out in the Dorset Local Nature Recovery Strategy, which was published towards the end of last year. The scheme also includes appropriate protection, mitigation, enhancement for the various protected species that are present on the site. So considering things like foraging between bats, dormice, breeding birds, common reptile species, and badgers are all present in the area. And overall, the scheme provides a really positive opportunity to protect what's already valuable on site and deliver measurable gains of biodiversity in the long term. I think Robin's going to run through some of the detail.
Perfect, thank you. So these next slides concentrate on different areas of the scheme. This western area near to Charminster provides the retention of some of the fields and the public rights of way across them. We are integrating new areas of landscape planting and buffers, as well as the sports park towards the southern part of the site. There's approximately 50-50 development and green infrastructure within the scheme. So we have looked at the provision and the requirements within the local policy and promoted the placemaking and the siting of these open spaces within the site's constraints. The Froome Valley Park is a key destination space located near to the school. This will provide a multifunctional space with productive landscape, play, and really help to create a piece of public open space that school users can go through, use, enjoy as they go on their daily routine to and from school. As you can see here, we've got circa 135 hectares of new public open space within the scheme. So the quantum of public open space is very vast, in addition to the water meadows, which will be retained within the scheme as well. The Northern Parkland affords views to Dorchester. This space will be a very large open naturalistic parkland, but will also include play provision and provision for older years and teens. You can see in the top corner we've got a woodland cemetery also. Here you can see our fact that there will be 3 new trees planted for every new home. So whilst the landscape master plan is not detailed, we have shown obviously that there's going to be very much a lot of tree planting, new hedgerows across the scheme to not only help with placemaking, but as Richard said, help with the habitat creation, protection, and ensuring that it is a well-developed public open space scheme. Within the Eastern Gateway and Green Corridor, this key space provides an entrance and a gateway to the scheme, whilst also protecting and screening sensitive views. And it will provide a corridor that the users, both new residents and existing, can travel to, through and from the scheme into the wider area. Cocosroom Park will become a community parkland with allotments, community orchards, based spaces, and will really create a destination between the two neighbourhoods for users. So we're always thinking of the new users and the existing community when designing the public open space. Within the water meadows, this area will be protected and enhanced for biodiversity, as well as obviously the flood function that it provides. We've already touched upon the raised new route through the water meadows, which will create a link for new users. Over to Howard.
Hi, good evening. I'm Hugh Lomax. I'm a civil engineer. I'm working with Person Moran on the scheme, looking at flood risk and drainage. We're obviously aware of the recent flooding that's occurred in the area as a result of a prolonged, exceptionally prolonged period of rainfall in January, culminating in Storm Chandra. The site proposes essentially a sustainable drainage strategy. And what this does is it's a climate resilient strategy that stores, manages and controls water on the site. The site is presently farmland, greenfield, and is unmanaged and generates runoff. Now, the sites that we proposed are integrated into the landscape and will promote water quality, biodiversity, amenity benefits, as well as the volume control requirements where we store and manage rainwater. And we build into an account an allowance of 45% climate change for future climate change allowances. And we have provided, the storage that will be provided on the site will consist of basins and other features amongst the parcels and amongst the roads as well. And the total volume of storage that's already allowed for in the basins that are shown here on the master plan is about 100,000 meters cubed of water, which is the equivalent of about 40 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The site itself is configured so that the houses are out of the floodplain. They also avoid surface water flow routes associated with the dry valleys, which have been kept free of built form development. So we adapted to the known and mapped flood constraints in the site. And the drainage strategy that is proposed will conform to national standards. It's going to be scrutinised by Dorset LLFA, the Environment Agency, and other consultees, and will meet all current national standards. The site, obviously, the site is outside of the floodplain. The interaction with the floodplain that is proposed is where the two new crossings of the river are, and essentially the design of those, the detailed design of those crossings, the proposed level of them will make sure that they are outside of the level of the predicted floods, and the Environment Agency will scrutinise a hydraulic model which will be undertaken to demonstrate that there will be no adverse impact as a result of those crossings in the floodplain on displacing floodwater and making an adverse impact anyway.
Of course, we wanted this to provide some, the houses will be future home standard ready. So I would remove. So the houses that we are actually providing are going to be future home standard, which is a new regulation implemented by December 2027. What does it mean? It means it's going to be high efficiency, energy efficient, zero carbon ready, and new space standard, a well-designed space. What actually, realistically, what it means is that we will install some solar generation on the south-facing roof, actually the solar panel or the PV. We try to use a rainwater collection for the gardeners. I would just say that we try to have some create space for rain gardens, swales and suds, using permeable paving where we can. But at the same time, we have opportunity for food growing next to the house. The use of innovative material with low embodied energy, the optimizing the area of glazing in the south elevation and try to capturize so much of the sun in Dorchester can be really nice when it's not raining. And then we got low energy and low water use with the installation of ground and ISO SIG pump. So the houses that we're planning are not the houses currently on the market now. They're going to be more sustainable. They're going to be future ready with a fabric first approach and using high insulation and reduce the energy demand, with the possibility to link home to renewable energy in the future or district level. So it's we really high sustainable. We try to be really high sustainable development in the new houses that we're going to provide. Jamie.
Hi there, yes, so my name's Jamie Sullivan. I'm a town planning consultant for Bidwells. So I'm going to talk a little bit about affordable housing. Obviously, we've had a question in the chat about that, and I've spoken to a number of people about it this week, so I know it's an important issue for lots of people. So the first thing to say is that of the total scheme, 35% under Dorset's local plan policy has to be legally secured as affordable. But I mean, the question that we regularly get here is, well, what do you mean by affordable? So there are several different definitions that I'm going to run through you here. The first one relates to social and affordable rent. Now, these are available for people who are on the housing register and have a local connection to the area as well. And the rents for those are set by a government formula, but just to kind of provide that in an easy way to understand, you would normally expect the affordable rent homes to be at 20% discounted from a local private market rent, whereas social rent, they provide much deeper discounts of 40 to 60% on social rent. Then if we just move, just to touch on this as well. So those homes will be owned by a registered provider of affordable housing, and they'll be secured in perpetuity with government rent controls on those throughout. So the other type of affordable housing product that will be provided will be shared ownership or discounted homes. And we're expecting around a third of the total affordable homes to be these types of units. So a shared ownership product is something usually taken up by first-time buyers, but is available to other people with a local connection, whereby a percentage of the house is owned by the occupier, the person in housing need, and the remaining portion of it is owned by a registered provider of affordable housing. And you obviously pay a mortgage on the part that you own, and then a rent to the registered provider. And the idea is that then over time you can staircase out the amount of that property that you own, and then eventually you own the property. All right, so it's a route to affordable home ownership. The other type of product here is discounted market sales homes, and here you have a percentage reduction on the overall sale price, and then you buy the property outright. Again, you need a local housing connection to that, and there are legal agreements on the covenant in terms of who you can sell that onto in the future to ensure that discount is retained. So that's the approach to those two products. I just wanted to touch on something else here. So obviously it's a very positive story in terms of affordable housing provision, and we're looking at nearly 1,300 of the homes that we'd provide being of those different products. Now, I just wanted to touch on the fact that, Dorset is the area where you have the highest level of need for affordable housing, it being the county town. So a major positive of the scheme is that we're able to locate those affordable homes in a very significant scale that you won't see delivered across other smaller schemes, all in the closest place to Dorchester, where you have the highest level of affordable housing need in the county. Thank you. Next slide, please. Just want to touch on creating new jobs here. So this plan shows the parts of the site that are not residential development. You'll see in blue on the eastern part of the site, we've got 6 hectares of employment land. That will be a range of different flexible uses. We'll be learning the lessons from Poundbury in terms of the types of uses there. I've spoken to a number of people who've highlighted issues with lots of trucks using Poundbury. We're looking at more smaller employment units for this site, flexible types of units and more light industrial office type provision. There's a range of other uses here as well. So our local centres will have a different range of different employment generating uses. So there'll be a large food store in the main local centre, but we'll have convenience stores as well. In addition to that, but there'll be a range of other kind of retail uses and community uses like nurseries and the like across those local centres. And finally, of course, there'll be 3 different schools on the development, 2 primary, 1 secondary, and they'll obviously have their own employment generating benefits arising from them. Next slide. Okay, so moving on to timeline then. So the approach here is that later this year we'll look to submit an outline plan application to Dorset for our master plan, probably with a separate application for that first phase of development to come forward as well, so we can start delivering homes a lot earlier. In parallel to that, you'll be aware that Dorset are bringing forward their own local plan, which currently allocates this site for development. We're looking to run in parallel to that local plan being brought forward. At the end of the year, that should be submitted to the Secretary of State for examination, and that will go through a process then of being examined before potentially being adopted if it's considered sound by the inspector. And then later on in 2027, if our outline planning application was approved, we'd look to submit what's known as a reserved matters plan application, and that provides a lot more detail, and that's where you'll see the specific house designs, precisely where all those houses will be much more specific in terms of the uses and the design and the internal layouts at that point. If things are proceeding on course at that point, then we'd move to summer 2028 when construction work could commence on site, obviously subject to all those planning permissions, and then early 2029 all would see the first homes and community facilities being available, 2033 being the first neighbourhood. And because we're talking about so many units here being brought forward, you'd be looking at 2048 for the estimated completion for the whole garden community. That was all from me.
Thank you very much. So we've got some questions through. I'm going to start with traffic and transport. I've got a question from Mark. Where is the infrastructure coming from for this development? The traffic within the town already is significant. So Ed, if you could pick that one up, please.
Yeah, thanks very much for the question. So in terms of the infrastructure, obviously the main piece of infrastructure is the delivery of the link road itself. So as you'll be aware, that link road runs from the A35 in the east and connects into the B3147 in the west. So that gives an alternative route from the A35 to the A37 via the 3147. So what that will do is that should relieve some congestion as vehicles use that shorter route. So you'll have some less or fewer vehicles using the A35 bypass to the south, as well as going through the town centre itself. So that will in itself provide some relief. But also we are looking at other interventions, improvements to other junctions, for example, improvement to Stinsford Hill roundabout, Weirs roundabout, a new junction at London Road, Slides Lane, as I mentioned, and Dorset will also inform us of any concerns they have at other local junctions that they might require us to look at and assess, and provide any mitigation if required.
Thank you. We've also had a question through on parking. So I know a lot of that will be in the detail in those later reserve matters phases that Jamie mentioned, but could you cover a bit about parking policy and generally how allocating of parking works in the development? That'd be really helpful.
Yeah, of course. So as part of the local plan, councils have usually supplementary planning guidance. So this will set out the number of parking spaces required for flats and houses of various sizes. So, for example, they might require one space for a one-bed flat. They might require 4 spaces for a 4 or 5 bedroom home. So the local council will set those standards. And as Demi mentioned, when the reserve matter applications come through, that element of the reserve matter application will need to provide parking in line with that parking standard set by the council.
Thank you. We've had a question from Cliff. Whilst I've got you, Ed, he says, fascinated about the traffic going east-west. Can we see the data? I think he says it's called the TRIX data.
Yeah, so yeah, great question. So the TRIX database is a national database that has trip generation from various sites across the whole country. So that TRIX data will be provided within the transport assessment. All those outputs will be within that transport assessment when that's released and the planning application is submitted.
Thank you very much. So that's it for transport questions for the moment. I'm going to move on to Howard. There's been some questions about flooding and drainage. So the first of which is from Susan. The designated site has been a lake for the most of the last 2 months. Because of the ground surface water, there is no soak away. Your plans for drainage will not be able to remove the water and Dorchester will flood. Now, not so much a question, but would you be able to kind of respond to that?
I guess so, certainly, yeah. I mean, in sustainable drainage terms, obviously, promoting infiltration back to the into the ground is considered, you know, one of the most sustainable destinations for surface water, as you know, above going to a sewer or to a watercourse. So certainly, yes, whilst there are existing conditions associated with the very wet weather, and obviously has resulted in that, then you know, this site, whilst contributing into groundwater and into the catchment, as part of that, ultimately there'll be no significant changes to that, you know, fundamental pattern that's determined as a result, not just as a result of the site itself. I guess what we could say is, obviously, with the basins that are going to be created on the site and the 40 Olympic swimming pools worth of storage that we're going to have as open basins, we argue that there's a potential for some of the water to be stored in the features through the basins that are going to be created on the site.
Thank you very much. I've had a question from Louise. I'm buying a house near the water meadows and I'm very concerned that the development will impact on the risk of flooding, and that risk of flooding will increase. What are you doing to prevent this? And if that doesn't work, what compensation, if any, do homeowners receive?
Okay, well, I can confirm there'll be no adverse risk as a result of the development. As a result of the sustainable drainage strategy that's put in place, complies with all the national standards. Any surface water runoff from the site is obviously stored on the site, managed on the site, integrated into the landscape. The storage volumes for up to the 100-year storm, with a 45% allowance for climate change or manage that runoff. Any water that is put into watercourses off the site will be restrained to an extremely low rate, even less than what it is currently runs off in its greenfield scenario. And in terms of the interaction with the actual floodplain itself, the river crossings that are proposed, hydraulic modelling will be undertaken, a new model built, climate change allowances all allowed for, and that modelling essentially agreed with the Environment Agency and signed off by them, and the scheme will not be consented until they agree and sign off on that technical.
Thank you, Howard. One more while I've got you. Re the attenuation basins. What equation was used to arrive at the 100,000 cubic meters?
Brilliant, fantastic. Okay, well, it's essentially an equation where we look at rainfall data using FEH, flood estimation handbook data or FEH 22, which is the latest available data. We look at a range of storms, look at what is the worst case duration for all of those things. So everything from short rainfall for 15 minutes to anything up to sort of 4 days, 10 days. And then we run calculations, hydraulic calculations on those to work out what's the worst case of each of those interactions, add the climate change allowance on top of the present day data, and essentially size for that what is quite an extreme scenario with the climate change allowance already built in. So very comfortable with this.
Thank you. Just another question. Sorry, just while you've been answering that one, Howard, another one's come in. It all sounds really difficult, read the flooding. Why did you choose a floodplain in the first place?
Okay, obviously, so the actual site where the development is proposed, where all the housing proposed, is adjacent to a floodplain, but the housing itself is obviously located in Environment Agency Flood Zone 1 in an area of low risk. So where the actual development is proposed is in a location of low flood risk. It's to the north of Dorchester, and obviously there are existing crossings across the river. Those crossings will provide benefit to Dorchester and providing additional links, as Ed has already suggested there, for the landscape. And those crossings do go over the floodplain. And yes, they will be designed, detailed design will happen, and it will demonstrate that there should be and that there will be no adverse impact as a result of flooding of those crossings, impacting the flow of water across the floodplain.
Thank you. I've got a question on education from Mark, who says, why would there be another secondary school when we have Thomas Hardy School, which is high performing?
Yeah, I'll pick that one up. So yeah, look, it's a good question, and so I think there's been another question about Thomas Hardy being oversubscribed as well, and how we'd impact on that. So I think the first thing to say around this is that in planning terms, the general rule is that when there's an element of critical infrastructure like a secondary school in the area, and if you create a new demand for it and there's not sufficient capacity, then it's beholden on you to deliver additional capacity to ensure that you deliver sufficient infrastructure for your own development. You know, you'll wash your own face, to put it in more simple terms. So the reason why we are providing a secondary school and 2 primary schools is that because we create the need for that 3,600 homes in an area that will be very attractive to families, will create a significant need for new critical infrastructure like primary and secondary schools. So that's why we're providing those schools as part of those sites. We are very much led by Dorset Council in terms of the amount of school places that we provide, and we're working very closely with them to ensuring that the capacity of those schools meets the potential need arising from the development.
Thank you, Jamie. And whilst I've got you as well, we've had another question about archaeology. Someone asking what archaeology checks will be done or have already been done on the site.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great question. And yes, so I'm not an archaeologist, but I'll try and do my very best. Tony Robinson from Time Team impression here. But so what we understand that there is sensitive archaeology on the site. So there are the round barrows to the east of the site, quite close to the entrance. They are sensitive. We're not looking to develop that around them. We're obviously aware of them. They're pretty obvious to the naked eye. In addition to that, we've done desktop assessment to understand the wider potential baseline position using historic records. In addition to that, we will carry out geophys. Again, cracking time team term, that, isn't it? And then based on that, there'll be trial trenching to understand where the archaeology is. And then there'll be a final full archaeological report submitted with the application, which people will be able to review to understand the constraints and how we've mitigated that.
Thank you. We've got a question about biodiversity. So Richard, over to you. In respect of biodiversity, are you working with an NGO such as Dorset Wildlife Trust, and how are you managing protected species? So sort of two questions in one for you there.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I'll take the protected species element first. So as you'd expect on a site like this, there are a range of protected species present within the development site boundary. So we've got an assemblage of foraging cutie bats, hazel dormice, farmland birds, common species of reptiles and badgers, amongst others. So the exact approach for each species depends on the species and how we go about managing that. But as a general concept, we've been following the mitigation hierarchy, which is all about initially avoiding the impact if possible, then mitigating and compensating where necessary. So taking common reptiles as an example, we've worked to retain the best habitat features for that species group. The existing grassland through the south of the site, and where we are having losses, we are offsetting that with significant better quality habitat, new wildflower meadow, new scrub planting, so that we are always creating higher quality habitat than that we're losing. And that's largely the approach taking with all protected species in a broad sense. Where we are having impacts, we're offsetting that through better quality habitat replacement. And picking up on the point about consultation, so we currently have been and continue to be liaising with Natural England and Dorset Council's ecologists on the approach taking and how we the scope of our work and the scope of our mitigation, and we'll continue to do that up to the plan application and throughout.
Thank you. We've had a question from Mark, which I'm probably going to pass to Robin, around how will this development enhance the rich heritage of Dorchester? So I think that's around landscape as well.
Yeah, so there's a number of features which are shown in the landscape master plan with asterisks. Many of those we can connect to through the existing public right-of-way network. So as part of the proposals, there will be some wayfinding and potentially some public art to integrate the Thomas Hardy connections to wider Dorchester. There was obviously the views, the protection of some of the landscape to retain that character that you read in the literature, as well as interpretation. So there will be opportunities to include interpretation boards in some of the public open spaces to raise awareness of those who are maybe visiting, to point out elements within the landscape and explain that to others. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Tim, I've got a couple of questions for you around construction. One is around how will construction be managed, and that is including construction traffic. And then a separate question about, have you got enough people working in construction to build these homes?
Thanks, Steve. Starting with the question around construction traffic, we would be preparing a construction traffic management plan, and that would be a requirement from Dorset Council that we produce that plan and we get it agreed with the council, and that would set out programme for managing construction traffic. So it would set the routing for construction vehicles into the site, and all our contractors would need to comply with that routing. It will also set out things like requirements to have a wheel wash for vehicles leaving the site to stop mud on the road, and making sure that we've got road sweepers and road cleaners in place as well. It will set construction working hours, and it will deal with all the issues around construction traffic routing in agreement with Dorset Council. And just going to the other question about the number of construction workers, we're a Dorset-based house builder ourselves. Typically, on an average day, we're employing a couple of hundred tradespeople on our various sites across the area. We are looking to expand that team, and our team of trusted contractors have grown with us over the years. And as we continue to grow the business, then those companies are recruiting apprentices and bringing on trainees. So having this pipeline of sites like this and allows us to invest in training and bringing on new recruits and new apprentices into the construction workforce, which is very much needed.
Thank you. We've had a question about the purchase of the homes and also those who might be renting in them. Who are they going to be effectively? Where are the purchases going to come from, and where are those who are going to be renting the homes going to come from? And Mo, do you want to pick that one up, please? I think Mo, you're still on mute. Okay. In the meanwhile, while Mo sorts his mute out, let's go to Ed. I've got another question for you. There will be probably over 1,000 people driving to work in Poole, Bournemouth, etc. What is being done to enhance the existing already congested road network?
Okay, so yeah, thank you very much. So I think as a first point, A35, as you all know, is part of the National Highways responsibility. I think it is something that they are looking at in terms of whether any improvements in the area are needed. We are in conversation with them about the A35 as well as Dorset Council that I mentioned earlier. As I mentioned earlier, the link road will provide some relief along the A35. Obviously, some of that might be taken up by any residents travelling to Weymouth and Bournemouth, etc. But we are having discussions with both Dorset and National Highways about any mitigation that they require along the A35 or other local roads within Dorset.
Thank you. A question around libraries. Any plans for a library or information centre should this development go ahead? That might be a question for Valentina and Cosmo.
It's definitely something we always want to try to do. Some information point, some more community element to enrich and enhance what is the literature of Dorchester and the history around Dorchester. Not probably a library per se. I'm not sure in 50 years' time, but definitely an information point has a point of where people can refer to and have a divulgating the culture of the place. Where it's going to be, probably in the local centre, or definitely in one of the heart of the development.
Thank you. In terms of questions that we've got left, let me have a look. Jamie, I've got a few for you. One of which is on timescales. When do you think a likely decision is going to be made? And the easiest thing to do is probably for me to head back to the previous slide for you to talk through the decision making around the outline application. We've had a question just to clarify that.
Yeah, so look, we'll be very much in the hands of the local authority, and that'll also be contingent on when we submit the application. I mean, we would be hoping that it would be at some point in 2027 for the full master plan, because then we'd be looking to submit our reserve matters planning application later in 2027. So apologies, I appreciate that might appear a bit evasive, but it is to an extent out of our hands.
Thank you. And then another question from Paul, who's asked, when will the general public see what will be contractual in terms of what has been presented tonight? So we're talking through the Section 106 agreement and the planning application documents themselves.
Okay, so all of the documents will be available online at the point of submission when the application is considered to be valid. So they'll all be available later this year after it's been submitted. Some elements, can take a little bit of time, and that's why it's quite difficult to predict in terms of when the application will be determined, because some matters may arise that require further information to be provided to satisfy certain consultees. Traditionally, the Section 106 agreement heads of terms will be agreed and signed off, at the planning committee, and then the detail of that will be delegated to officers to agree, and then that will be issued at the same point as planning permission is granted. So I think that covers all of the queries there.
Thank you. And then 2 more questions for others, and then we're going to come back to you, Jamie, for a question. And I can see Louise has just asked a question. Yes, Louise, this recording will be available on the website, so you can look at it again later, as is the recording from the webinar from last September. So we've had a question, and I'm not sure who's the best person to pick this up. It might be Tim or Mo or Valentina, so take your pick. Will there be access in every house for wheelchairs? You can't silo disabled access for a few houses. We all have disabled friends who need access to our homes as well.
From a design perspective, definitely that is the aspiration, to have every single home accessible from everyone. I think it's something we will finally detail later down the line with the detailed planning application for every single phase. But yes, it's definitely something we want to do it.
And while I've got you, will there be a pub and other social gathering points? There are 2 pubs on Poundbury after all.
Yes, definitely. Yes, I would say if we found an operator, as you know, probably struggling, but that again, the aspiration is to buy a sustainable community where people can live together and stay together, and they need space to do so.
Thank you. And then I think the last question, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong, is one for you, Jamie, around staffing of health centres. So you've got health centres proposed on the site, but there's a shortage of staff elsewhere. How are those health centres going to be staffed?
I'm on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, no worries.
We've made it through the whole session without doing that. Yes, so look, we won't be running the health centres in the same way we won't be running the school. We will be working very closely with the NHS for them to work out the scale of health centre that is required, and the NHS very careful with their money in terms of making sure that they're bringing forward facilities that work and that can be staffed. I guess the thing I would say is we're all aware at the moment in terms of the distances that people often have to travel to work into Dorchester. It's got a huge deficit in terms of in commuting to the area, and part of that is because of lack of available homes. So the provision of a significant number of homes, and a very significant number of affordable homes as well, will provide potential new accommodation for key workers as well. And just a further point in terms of disabled housing, just in terms of what Valentina was saying there before, the government is currently consulting on nationwide requirements to deliver M2 housing in very significant levels across new housing development. So we expect there will be a target in terms of homes that are appropriate for disabled use at the time of determination.
Thank you. And we've just got one final question of Mo. Mo, we asked you a question previously about who's going to buy these houses and where are the renters going to come from. So if we can cover off sales and rentals as well, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm unmuted now. Because it's such a significant variety of households and mixes, we've got 3,500 homes coming through with different tenures, different typologies, and flats to 2-bed houses, to 3-bed houses, to semi-detached, to detached. We're hoping for a mix of people from different geographical areas, some in the immediate locality, obviously, some close by, some further afield, wanting to move to Dorset, wanting to work. A lot of people that may be looking to move out of Dorset will now have a variety of opportunities to be able to get onto the property ladder. So for the buying side, we'll be expecting people who are wanting to get onto the property ladder and have a mix of different households and typologies that may not be available elsewhere. For the rented product, we will have a mix of rental flats as well, again, from 1 beds to 3 beds. So we'll be expecting people who are working in the immediate locality, people taking a train station to different areas or driving to different areas. So again, we've got a large mix to get a diverse community of different people from different households and typologies at this scheme.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, just one last quick question from Louise. Is there a footpath currently going over the road? Sorry, there is a footpath currently going over where the road will go. How will this be managed? I'm not sure which specific road and footpath. I'm not sure if anyone's able to answer that. What we might do, Louise, is ask you to email in with some specifics, and then we can come back with a specific answer. That might be the best bet, because I know there are quite a few footpaths and roads that we're talking about on the site. Okay, Christopher, the website is northdorchester.org.uk, and it'll be uploaded in the next few days. And that's just a reminder to everyone else, if there's any questions that you have that come to you or you don't think were fully answered, please do drop us an email at info@northdorchester.org.uk, and we'll get back to you. Many thanks for your time. Bye now.